الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. This is another session where we are looking at the poem written by Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, Meemiyyah, the explanation of our Sheikh Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah. In the previous session we looked at how Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah talks about the importance of following the Salaf al-Salih and having love for them and taking them as our example. This poetry is a poem that he has written with the description of the pilgrim whilst he is performing the pilgrimage. So in today's session we're going to take some verses from this poem in where he talks about the experiences that the pilgrim feels, or the emotions that the pilgrim feels whilst he adorns the ihram, whilst he proclaims the talbiyah, and the feeling that a person gets when he first sees the Kab'ah, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, rahimahullah, أما والذي حج المحبوب بيته ولبوا له عند مهلي وأحرموا. He says, rahimahullah, as for the one who is performing the pilgrimage to the house that he loves, he proclaims the talbiyah from the point of where he passes the miqat, and now he has adorned the ihram. Obviously he's saying it in more poetic manner, but this is a translation. وقد كشفوا تلك الرؤوس توادعا لإزة لمن تعنوا وجوه وتسلموا. He says here, rahimahullah, that the person who is in pilgrimage and in the ihram, he has exposed his hair, his head, out of honor to the one whose faces we'll be looking at, and in submission. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says, removing the headgear and exposing your head is a sign of humility and servitude. And this is something which is witnessed until today. And what he said is the truth, rahimahullah. Even in our culture here in the West, in a manner of showing servitude, humility, they would take the headgear off. So this is what al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying here. These people, they have taken off their hats, they have taken off their turbans, they have taken off everything. And he says here, Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, that the person who is performing the ihram, performing the pilgrimage whilst in ihram, يشعر بأنه يكشف الرأس تواضعا لله. He can feel the fact that he has exposed his head out of humility towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, and if it wasn't for the woman being completely the awrah, then it wouldn't be far-fetched for us to say that it would be legislated for them to expose their heads also. All of us showing here that when the person is performing the pilgrimage, it is a position of a person having servitude and humility in front of his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. يهلون بالبيداء لبيك ربنا لك الملك والحمد الذي أنت تعلم. The author rahimahullah is now talking about the talbiyah. The person, now he has exposed his head, he has worn the ihram, he has come from the miqat station, and now he is making the talbiyah. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he says the talbiyah means to respond. The talbiyah means to respond. And in these coming lines we will see what the person is responding to. But the talbiyah means to respond with obedience and acceptance. The talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, I am here at your service. It means that you have responded to something, but not just any kind of response, a response with obedience and acceptance. Then the next line he says, دعاهم فلبوه رضا ومحبة فلما دعاه كان أقرب منه. Now here, the author is actually giving us what that call is. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah is saying that Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying in this verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called them. And this is found in the ayah in Surah Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Ibrahim, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, make an announcement to mankind to perform the Hajj. يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ دَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. They will come to this house walking, and they will come filling up all of the valleys and all of the pathways. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying here, دَعَاهُمْ فَلَبَّوْهُ رِضًا وَمَحَبَّةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them, so they make the talbiyah with love and pleasure. فَلَمَّا دَعَوْهُ, so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them, كَانَ أَقْرَبُ مِنْهُمُ, these people then became closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What Ibn al-Qayyim is saying here is that when the person is performing the pilgrimage, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called them. He is the one that made the announcement to come to His house. So when they have responded with the ihram, with the talbiyah, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying here, this is one of the closest stations that a person will ever have with his Lord subhanahu. كَانَ أَقْرُبُ مِنْهُ تَرَاهُمْ عَلَى اندِعَاءِ شَعْثًا وَرُؤُوسُهُمْ وَغُبْرًا وَهُمْ فِيهَا أَسَرُّ وَأَنْعَمُوا. In this line here, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is talking about the effects of their travel. You will see them coming, their hair and their heads disheveled, full of dust, but at the same time they have pleasure and they can recognize that they have the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over them. And this is the haqq. Even until today, people, with the ease that we have in traveling, people, they perform the hajj, they come in ihram, and you can clearly see that these people, just by the travel getting to the house, they have already experienced a great deal of toil and exertion for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hair is exposed, things are not normal with them. Perhaps you can see signs of travel on their body, on their clothes. But at the same time, فِيهَا أَسَرُّوا وَأَنْعَمُوا, they are happy and they can see that they have the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he says, meaning these people have traveled a long way with difficulties. And now look how Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah is describing them. Their hair and their heads are exposed and disheveled. Their garments are full of dust, yet they are full of awe and pleasure for their Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقَدْ فَارَقُوا الْأَوْطَانِ وَالْأَهْلِ رَغْبَةً وَلَمْ يُثْنِيهِمْ لَذَّاتُهُمْ وَتَنَعَّمُوا. They have split off from their families. They have split off from their countries and their cities to travel this distance. And the joy that they feel cannot praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough. يسرون من أقطارها وفجاجها رجال وركبان ولله أسلموا. Similar to the ayah that we saw from Surah Hajj. They come from all different channels, all different pathways, walking or on transportation, and for the sake of Allah they have submitted. وَلِلَّهِ أَسْلَمُوا. Now Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, after talking about the ihram and talking about the talbiyah and talking about the miqat, now he's describing how it feels for the person to see the house of Allah. وَلَمَّا رَأَتْ أَبْصَارُهُمْ بَيْتُهُ الَّذِي قُلُوبُ الْوَرَى شَوْقًا إِلَيْهِ تَدَرَّمُوا. He says rahimahullah, when their eyes first see the house, the hearts of man who long for it ignite. When they first see the house, the hearts of man who long for it ignite. Meaning, rahimahullah, he says when you first see the house, you've been wanting to see this house for a very long time. Some people, it's once in a lifetime. And as soon as they see the house, tadarramu, their hearts light up, they ignite. كأنهم لم ينسبوا قط قبله لأن شقاهم قد رحل عنهم. فلله كم من عبرة محاركة وأخرى على آثارها لا تقدم. In these two lines, rahimahullah, Ibn al-Qayyim is saying here when they see the house, everything that they've experienced from difficulty has escaped them. The hunger, the uncertainty whether they will see the house or not, the lack of sleep, the heat, the cold, all the discomforts. As soon as they see the house, all of that is forgotten. So now think about this. Your heads are exposed. You are proclaiming your submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in answering His call. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. You have come exhausted in front of Him. Seeking His reward. So when they see the house, Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah says, زال عنهم كل العذاب. Everything which was difficult upon them has now gone. كأن لم يحصل لهم نسب أو تعب, as if there was no difficulty or hardship involved in it. When they see the house, their hearts ignite. When they see the house, they begin to cry. And they're not crying because they are hungry or they are tired. The very first emotion that they will feel is a feeling of being overwhelmed. وقد شرقت العين المحب بدمعها فينظر من بين الدموع ويسجم. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah is saying in this line that the eyes of the beloved to the house begin to weep, and he looks at the Kab'ah through his tears. ولا يعرف الطرف ما عين حسنها وحسنه إلى أن يعود الطرف وشوق أعظم. This person continues looking at the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he is blinking, but the blink of his eye doesn't know its beauty. So his glance does not return back to him because of the fact that he continues looking at the house, because the feeling of love that he has for the house was shawq a'damu. This is because the feeling that he's feeling in looking at the house means he continues to cry through his tears, and he can't look away. ولا عجب من ذا فيه ما ولا عجب من ذا فيه أضافه إلى نفسه الرحمن فهو معذب. He says here, it is not strange for the people of comfort, ذا فهين, that they attach themselves to the veneration of Ar-Rahman. What he is saying here is that these people are crying, they're feeling these emotions when they're seeing the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not seeing the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and crying because of the house itself. It is only because of a veneration that they have for Ar-Rahman. إِلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَانِ فَهُوَ مُعَذَّمُ. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah says in commentary, he says the heart has a veneration for the house, but it's because of their veneration for Ar-Rahman. Now what's strange, you will find some people venerating the house. They wouldn't want a speck of dirt to touch the house, but they don't venerate the Lord of the house. You will find such people looking at the Kab'ah, respecting the Kab'ah, respecting the Qibla. But in this line what we learn is that the person who truly respects the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respects it because of their veneration for Rahman. كساه من أجلال أعظم هلة عليها الطراز بملاهة معلم. It has been covered with the clothing of glory and the greatest of all garments. فمن أجل ذا كل القلوب تحبه وتخضع الأجلان له وتعظم. And because of this, all hearts love it, are of service towards it, honouring it in veneration. Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah said that there's no doubt that this house has a beauty. a beauty emanates from the Kab'ah. And it's not a must that everything that is beautiful is adorned with excessive attractiveness. It could be that excessive attractiveness takes away the beauty and doesn't fulfill the objective of something becoming beautiful. Rather, as we see and we experience from looking at the Kab'ah, it could be that something is very simple. It could be something that is destitute and poor, but there is a great deal of there is a great deal of beauty in that poverty. Therefore, this house is beautiful in its simplicity. This is what the author has to say when it comes to wearing the ihram and the talbiyah and looking at the Kab'ah. In the next few lines, inshallah, next week, he gives a description for the people who are standing at Arafah and what they will be experiencing on that day. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.